Hi, Phil. Hi, Cassie.
Hi.
Hi.
Just as a note, this is being recorded.
You recording my smile?
Yeah. John, Nancy, Ray.
Morning, John. Good morning, Nancy. Good morning, Ray.
Morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning, Nancy.
Morning. Morning, Libby.
Good morning.
Morning, Alana. Morning,
Good
Rob.
morning.
Morning, Nancy.
And so you and I got the dress code that is blue today.
Today, yeah.
Yesterday we both
have
were
to-
wearing red. Hi, John.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, John.
Morning.
Morning, Rob.
Morning. How's everybody?
Bright sunny morning for a change.
Yes, it's nice, eh?
We're all great.
Good to hear.
Okay.
I got my coffee. It's sunny out. Good day.
All's
Life
good.
is good.
And there's Brittany. So everybody is here and we're right on time, 9 o'clock. Good morning, Brittany. We'll call this meeting.
Hold on, I'm gonna admit the people in the lobby if you don't mind, Jim. Is that good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, good to go.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. And before we move into our open session, we're going to go into a closed session. Phil's got a bit of an update here for us. So Cassie, we'll go into a closed session.
Perfect. So what I'm going to do, Jim, if it's all right with you, is I'm just going to send you guys a Teams meeting invite. It should come through Phil's calendar, and then we'll all join that separate link. And then when we move back into open session, we'll come back to this one. Does that work for everybody?
I don't have an agenda for any closed meeting. I was told there was no closed meeting.
If I may, a procedural matter has come up, and according to Article 68.1 F of the Local Governance Act, I'd like to proceed with making a small amendment to the agenda to allow for a closed session discussion before we enter into the open session. So for those of you that are joining to view this open session meeting virtually, just have to hold tight. It should take no longer than 10 to 15 minutes to go through the procedural matter. So we'll require a motion of the board to amend the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried.
All right, so I'm just going to, for anyone viewing, we're just going to mute this. We are going to move into a separate session. Board should see that coming in to their inboxes now, and we will be back very shortly.
So we just hang up here, right?
Yeah, if the board could please leave this meeting, enter into the next meeting and come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Cassie, what am I supposed to do?
Director Riddell, you'll get a link from. We're all just getting a link right now, and you're invited to participate in the closed session.
So you want me to leave the meeting now?
You can leave or pause this meeting. I think others will be leaving this meeting, then re-entering this open session. So we'll create a separate link for the closed.
Did you see it come through?
Yeah. Just make sure we're totally
Hold on.
muted. Yeah.
Jim, are you guys unable to see it?
Hi. Got two so far.
Everybody there?
Yeah, I tried that. It won't let me in, so no. This is ridiculous.
the link. Do this. She needs to get in the other one.
Cassie, your mic is on. Oh,
Cassie, you'll have to let me know when all the board members are present. Bill, you're on mute.
Apologies, Chair. We were just trying to get Brittany into the meeting. I just had to send her a new link. So if we could just wait one more minute for Brittany, we'll see if we can get her in.
You're on mute, Phil, if you're trying to reach us.
I apologize. We're having trouble getting Rob and Ray back in
Director Mary.
and Director Merrifield, so.
I'm here.
And I thought that my computer might be the problem. Bell, up in this area, we keep dropping off every once in a while. So if I disappear, I will come back.
You can run, but you can't hide, Jim.
You betcha.
Okay, so we're waiting for Director Riddell and Director Merrifield, but we do have quorum. So Chair, it's up to you how you want to proceed. Do you want to wait for a few more minutes? Oh, there's Director Merrifield.
And we've sent messages to all the members, the reminders of how to join.
And I did just send Ray another link to make sure he has the link to join. So up to you, Chair.
So we're just missing Director Riddell.
Yes.
We'll start through here and hopefully Director Riddell will be able to join in here very shortly. So it is 9:32. We'll call this meeting to order, open session. A record of attendance. The only one we're missing is Director Rodell, and hopefully he'll be joining us shortly. May I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Seconder on the question? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Do we have a disclosure of conflict of interest? None noted. Reports, item number 2.1, purchase of a latest model hydraulic track excavator, 23 ton or equivalent. Phil, would you like to lead off on that, please?
I have Mark here who's available for any questions associated with this report, but we're just seeking a resolution to proceed with those identified in the report.
Move
Okay.
the resolution.
Seconder
Second.
on the question? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jim, I don't know if you can hear us. I think you're frozen. In this case, Rob, are you available to chair for just a moment until he gets back?
I can do that. I get you on the screen. I'll have to pull up. Okay.
Item number 2.2 is bridge financing for 2025 NCBB funding.
Okay. Secure. Oh yeah, bridge. Yeah. 2.2 is the bridge financing for the 2025 MCBB funding.
Yep.
Yeah.
And thank you for that, Vice Chair Doucette. This is basically the last outcome. We've gone through the MCBB, went through the 45-day review period, submitted, and now this is really for the board to authorize a short-term bridge financing loan with the Imperial Bank, as outlined in the report. Mark is here for any questions that the board may have on this matter.
I would move that the board authorize a short-term bridge financing loan with the Imperial Bank of Commerce. Sorry,
Second.
or other FRSC banking vendor in the amount of 1.1 million under the authority and conditions of Ministerial Order 25-0016.
I'll second it.
On the question, Rob?
Oh, yeah, sir. All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried. All right, moving on. Next one. Sorry about that. I'm trying to run two machines here and I have a hard time running one. Okay, basically, let's see. Where we're at.
Chair, Vice Chair, if we may, Elena does have her hand up.
Yes,
You're on mute.
you're on mute, Alana.
I think I see Chair Bedford has returned.
Okay, he is muted. I can't unmute him.
I'll text him.
Okay. And Vice Chair, we do have the next report to move to.
Okay. So, let me quickly text him. See if he gets that. All right.
So
All right.
Vice Chair, the next item is 3.3.
Yeah, it's 2.3, right?
Yep.
Heavy industrial property tax.
Through you, Vice Chair Doucette, to members of the board. This is a late addition, and this originated from some ongoing conversations between the regional group of chief administrative officers and rural district manager. And it was discussed that there would be some merit in the FRSC taking a position to help support this idea of maintaining industrial property tax, provincial property, industry provincial property tax should remain in the communities that harbor that industry. And the city of St. John has been advancing this over the years. And it is now a time that the province is undergoing its property assessment review. And it was identified that doing this earlier rather than later would be better. And essentially, the report does outline some of the key facts associated with the provincial property tax and heavy industry. It does not only impact the city of St. John, but communities across the province. And the city had recommended that this be brought forward. From the FRC's perspective, keeping funds that are collected, property tax funds that are collected for local governments in the local government communities is to the benefit of local governments. And if we maintain those funds within the city of St. John, certainly it will enable the entire region to benefit from their efforts to support economic growth and activity and that industrial base related to it. So the recommendation is to proceed with submitting a letter to the minister and propose that the resolution be amended just slightly to include the minister, premier, and minister of finance, and that we'd also seek partnership with UNMB as well as other RSCs and how they might be able to further elevate this matter. I'd also just like to acknowledge that this is not the only matter that is important related to property assessment, but one of the matters that should be acknowledged within this letter as well, that the local government associations and local government should be involved in any negotiations, discussions, or engagement related to property assessment, and that further guidance on policy should be coming from the associations on this. So that's the report. I look forward to any questions on it.
Great. Thank you for that. Just trying to get Jim with his mute. Jim's mute is not turned off.
I have a question on that resolution.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. The fact that this is being supported by the FRSC does not put any further obligation on any of the other communities, the other 6 communities, as far as contributing to, in the event that this is not recognized by the provincial government. I just don't want them to come along and say, you know, perhaps there should be some contributions for big industry in the city of St. John. I don't want to be held accountable or to have Quispensas be asked to help contribute for any of the infrastructure because of trucks that are pounding on the roads or railways that are blocking traffic and all of the new infrastructure that is going to be required. I don't want to be asked down the road to contribute to those costs. So are we clear on that? There's nothing that is going to have the other 6 communities contribute to that infrastructure, because I know that's a big deal in St. John.
Through the chair to Director or Vice Chair O'Hara, that's a great question and certainly worth elaborating on. The in this case, it's really the municipal services that are impacted by harboring industry within the community. So they incur costs associated with it, but that provincial portion of the property tax is basically taken by the province and submitted and kept. So the ask here is, in this discussion on property assessment, that they should consider just leaving those funds with the local governments that harbor the industry. And there's about over 30 communities, from my understanding, across the province that would benefit from such an amendment to the existing regulations and legislation related to property tax. So in no way would this invite discussion on the requirement of the region to finance local infrastructure on industrial. This is really about the province acknowledging that those communities that do harbor industry should be able to support that with the property tax they collect from industry. I hope that answers your question.
That answers my question. Thank you for the clarity on that.
Thank you.
Vice Chair, if I may, I think Chair Bedford has joined us again. Chair, can you hear and see us?
I'm back.
There you are.
And
Okay.
Director Merrifield, are you also able to hear us? Okay, great.
So we are on item number 2.3.
Yeah, just Phil, we just had it on the question. So just, I guess we're all in favor. And
We actually didn't have a mover or a seconder, Vice Chair. We had just had a question about the report.
Right. So all, go ahead. Go. Sorry, Jim. Go ahead. She's yours.
So any other comments or questions? Those in favor?
Can I get a mover and a seconder, please, Chair?
I'll move it.
Thank you.
Director McKenzie, seconded by Director Grant. Those in favor? Those against? Motion carried. Item number 3, code of conduct complaint. The next item on the agenda is the code of conduct matter. The matter pertains to the code of conduct violation in which was lodged against Director Adele by an employee of the Fundy Regional Service Commission. Following consideration of the complaint by the board, it was resolved that an independent investigator be retained to conduct an investigation into the allegations. The board, in a closed session prior to today's meeting, has reviewed the investigator's report. The investigator found that Director Adele breached the Fundy Regional Service Commission Code of Conduct. In addition, the investigator also found, through the course of the investigation period, Director Adele took regulatory action against the party who lodged the complaint, which was in a breach of Occupational Health and Safety Act. In accordance with our procedural bylaws, first hold a vote to determine whether the member of the board breached the code of conduct. Making the determination, the board consider all of the information has been provided through the proceedings, such as the complaint, the investigator's report, and the conduct of the parties. Only if that vote is passed, we will then vote on resolution respecting the appropriate corrective action or sanction. The board will consider and vote separately on each question, breach of the code of conduct, as set out in the original complaint. And as a second matter, the question of a breach of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. I also remind the directors that we are in open session. It is important to ensure you continue to maintain the confidentiality of the employee who filed the complaint. And I intend to restrict any comments or questions to a strict 1 minute time limit. Can I have a motion for consideration on the question of a breach of conduct as set out in the complaint?
Yes, yes, I would move that after very careful consideration of the complaint and the materials that were shared during the investigation report, that as well as the conduct of the parties, I move that Director Riddell be found to have breached the code of conduct of the Fundy Regional Services Commission.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Director Grant? On the question. Questions noted?
Like to make a comment on the question.
Please do, Director Riddell.
The first of all, I did not turn to the jurisdiction of the investigator. I do believe the whole process was conducted under a flawed bylaw, and I've made that quite clear. I do have a ruling from the commission, governance commission, that the bylaw was of no force and effect. So I don't, and I also want to talk about the fact that all of the complaints are out of time and should be dismissed accordingly. But I also want to refer to so, you know, those are my comments. And the
Point of order.
Sorry, that you. And now you're
Director
going
Riddell,
to
when a point of order is called, the chair needs to address it. So Director Bedford.
Yeah, we have, you've used up your time frame, Director Riddell. What was the point of order?
Any discussions that were held in closed session were to be kept in closed session, and we have just breached that.
Thank you. Duly noted. Okay, so with the no more further comments, we need to put this to a vote. I call for a vote.
Are you voting on all four, or are you voting on just one?
We're voting on just the one that Director O'Hara just put to the floor. Call for a vote to remind Director Riddell that as per the procedure bylaw, he is not permitted to vote on these matters. May I have a vote from the motion from the floor? We have a motion, we have the seconder.
We do. I believe that the motion for consideration of the report and such was made by Libby, Director O'Hara, and seconded by Director Doucette. So we are on the question.
Okay, and the question, any further questions? No further questions. We need to have a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. It's now appropriate to consider the appropriate sanctions or sanctions for the breach of the code of conduct and set out in the complaint. The sanctions are to be considered by the board and can be found in section 5.12 of the procedural bylaw. For the purpose of our consideration of an appropriate sanction, I thought to obtain guidance on the word suspension. As contained in section 5.12, the absolute clarity the word suspension shall mean prohibition of a member of the board from attending any board meetings and from participating in any discussion, either verbal or in writing, to the Fundy Regional Service Commission matters with the Fundy Regional Commission board members and staff until the suspension period is over. I call for a motion.
I would move then that in connection with the finding of a breach of a code of conduct as outlined in the complaint, I would move that the board, one, suspend Director Riddell for a period of 90 days from the board and all committees and bodies to which the board or any of its members have the right to appoint participants. And two, that all remuneration to Director Riddell be suspended during that period. And three, that Director Riddell be required to attend board governance training as approved by the chair to be completed during the suspension period, and such costs be borne by Director Riddell.
Do I have a seconder? Seconder, Director Grant. And I remind you, the comments are limited to 1 minute. Do we have any comments on the question?
Yes, I do have a comment, and the attendance at training is not in the regulations, and it's certainly not in the bylaw either.
Thank you, Director Riddell. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Is now appropriate.
I'd just like another comment, Chair
I'm
Bedford,
sorry,
that,
sir,
you know, you've been reading from prepared remarks that were prepared much before the decision was made, and same with Director McKenzie. So it just seems like it's been quite.
Point of
orchestrated.
order, point of order.
Now,
Speaker is out of,
turn here. Please let me continue. It is now appropriate to consider the matter of the breach of the occupational health and safety and Director Riddell by taking retaliatory action against the party who lodged the complaint. May I have a motion for consideration?
Yeah, I'd make a motion there. After careful consideration of the materials that were shared, the report provided by the investigator, as well as the conduct of the parties, I move that Director Riddell be found by the board to have breached the Occupational Health and Safety Act by taking retaliatory actions against an employee of the commission.
Do I have a seconder? Director McKenzie, on the question. Again, I remind you, all comments and questions, 1 minute limit. No comments and questions. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Now appropriate to consider the sanctions of the breach of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. It is important for the board to ensure the well-being and safety of all of our employees, safeguard of their workplace, remain free of any form of harassment or bullying. We have considered appropriate sanctions on the breach of Occupational Health and Safety Act. We have received a recommendation that it would be appropriate to consider the sanctions set out in section 5.12 of the procedural bylaws. I have a motion for consideration. Brittany, you're on mute.
oh, sorry, thank you. There, it happened, gotta happen once every meeting. So, sorry, like everybody else, after incredibly careful consideration and evaluation of the independent investigators report, I do move the following, that in connection with the finding of a breach of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, I move that the board, one, suspend Director Riddell for a period of 90 days from the board and all committees and bodies to which the board or any of its members have the right to appoint participants. Further, that this suspension be served consecutively to the suspension issued in connection with the breach of the Code of Conduct. 2, that all remuneration to Director Riddell be suspended during the period. And 3, that Director Riddell write a letter of apology to the applicable employee to be delivered to the chair within 10 days of this resolution.
May I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Director Doucette?
Yeah.
On the question?
Yeah, just a comment on that, there was no notice ever given that there would be an investigation under the Occupational Health and Safety Act. And the any statements that were made were not contained in the 4 complaints that were adjudicated on by the investigator. There's nothing in any of those complaints dealing with any harassment or bullying of the complainant.
Thank you for your comment, Director Riddell. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. That concludes our item number 3, complaint. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It is 9:57. Meeting is adjourned. I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.